Welcome to the Tradier Rundown. I am Jim Uriel. That's Bob Iacino. I might have a little bit of an edge today. It just took me an hour and a half to drive home in the snow from the city. I literally saw 7 or 8 cars cracked up on the side of the Kennedy, which, by the way, Bobby, you remember this. The first time it snows in Chicago, everybody acts like they've never driven in it ever in their entire life. What is wrong with people?
Is that the first time it snowed this year or just significant snow?
The first significant snow this year, which is unusual for February 13th or whatever the date it is, February 12th.
Oh, global cooling, warming, whatever.
Whatever it is, whatever fits the script for today.
Whatever it is.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
We on the Tradier Run. Oh, by the way, I'm Jim Uriel. That's Bob Iacino. We are the hosts of Tradier's The Trader's Edge that airs live at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays, Chicago time, 4 p.m. if you're one of those losers who lives in New York or in the Eastern time zone. But we don't even want any of you to watch anyway. I'm just kidding. Watch. How are you, Bob?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. We're talking today about the airline stocks. So I have a theory, and I want you to expound on it and tell me what you like within that. So I think that what we saw in 2020 and 2021 had a really, really profound effect in 2 different ways. One, I think it transferred money from the lower 60 to the upper 30 in and whether they intended it or not, that's a debate for another show. I don't care what the opinion is, but even at the time, it was the greatest wealth transfer up that I've ever seen in my life. So those people have a ton of money. Also, there's this kind of more of a YOLO attitude that goes on post 2020. And people are traveling. I mean, the statistics on it are pretty amazing, and airline stocks have gone higher. But there's another thing after you answer that, we want to talk about oil prices and airline stocks too. But what are your thoughts?
Well, actually, you hit on one of my thoughts. So we had a massive run to lower levels during the pandemic and the price of crude oil for obvious reasons. Demand fell off a cliff. And then we had a massive run up again as demand increased, and some of it was jet fuel demand. Now, we have I agree with what you said. I 100% agree with what you said. Airbnb stock went up. Vrbo became a lot more popular than Airbnb. And when you look at it from that perspective, there's simply no reason for that to not to continue, except ticket prices are starting to climb. The discount airlines are starting to struggle. And the last point being, return to work is gaining momentum. It really is. And that will put a curb in that sort of YOLO, we need to travel. Now, on top of that, we do have, again, it's a very short rally in crude oil prices. As a matter of fact, today when we're speaking, they're running lower and actually might signal a short position for me. We could talk about that on the show. But if that continues, if that sort of momentum of return to work, sparked by the current administration basically forcing federal workers to come back to work, that could really take a bite out of it. And when I look at the stocks, when I look at American Airlines, United Airlines, Southwest, they're under pressure in a significant way. Southwest Airlines today is testing its 200-day moving average.
So you said you think that return to work is going to stop a lot of the pleasure travel, and I agree with you on that. But do you think that there's a counterbalance to that it increases business travel?
Possibly. I mean, that's an interesting question. I think it could do that, but I think business travelers themselves weren't necessarily in love with their business traveling. I'm sure some were. And,
they're called 25-year-olds, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you got to leave your family, but you could do it via Zoom or via, one of these other streaming products, you're probably going to do that. But if the 25-year-olds, they're not the ones that are going to be spending money to send on trips anymore. So if you got to go somewhere and close a deal, you're going to go. But a lot of what happened during the pandemic and post-pandemic was companies started hiring remote salespeople who could drive to their territories. So that wasn't really where the demand for airline travel came, as you know.
That's interesting. I also have this other theory too, that as autonomous driving comes in, regional routes are going to suffer hard with these airlines. You know what I mean? Like I'm driving to Florida on Friday. Which is, normally I'd fly to Florida, but let's say I was going to Nashville, which is a 6-hour drive away. And I have a car that essentially drives itself and I have confidence in that car. And this might be 5 to 10 years away. I'll finish dinner, pour myself a glass of wine, sit down on my nice leather seat, recline a bit, and let my car drive me to Nashville. I won't fly anymore. Do you think that I'm crazy? Even think that's possible?
I am so awaiting that day. I'm one of the few people who loves cars, that is dying for autonomous driving. I will, if I'm allowed by whatever government is charging that point, if I'm allowed to own a car I can drive myself and the rest of my fleet, which would be one other car, being self-driving, I would be 100% on board for that. Even though I don't drink like I used to, not even close. But even for that, like just being a late night, I don't drink, but I fall asleep sooner now.
No doubt about it.
I would love to be able to program a car and go. And, going back to the airline stock, like if you look at an American Airlines chart, I don't have this position on, but I have a short trade triggered on February 10th.
Really?
So the airline stocks, I think, are in a little bit of trouble short term. And I think some of the reasons were mentioned by you and me. We could talk to Tony about that too.
Perfect. This is Tradier Rundown. I'm Jim Urio. That's my sidekick, Bob Avicino.
Here he goes with
I
the
try to keep a straight face. Jesus, I just wanted it to go off so dry. That's my sidekick, Bob Avicino, who's always at my right side. Anyway, that's our little running joke. We are the co-hosts of Tradiers, The Trader's Edge. Please join us at 3 p.m. Chicago time live on Wednesdays. Thank you, guys.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.